Risk is like rings in an onion, isn't it? When you start out a new startup and you're completely fresh to it, everything's risk.
Now, today's guest was a star on Dragon's Den and Secret Millionaire, the serial entrepreneur Piers Linney.
The hardest thing to do, the hardest thing I've learned, is knowing when to stop.
The world is moving at a really fast pace and AI is taking over, and Piers is really at the forefront of what's going on in AI.
The hardest 6 months of my life that was, because I was just thinking, when is that moment where I really am going to have to stop? As you mature in an entrepreneur business, whether it's a person you've hired, it could be the same dynamic. Whether it's a product, it could be the same dynamic. Whether it's a whole business, it's learning when to stop. We have an AI call agent where we listen to all the calls. At the end of the calls, people say, thank you very much, they've been really helpful. I know. It's like thanking your toaster. But because we're human, and because it's so realistic, and because it went so well, they feel as though they have to thank and be polite to a machine, essentially. Super powerful. So I'm telling you now, humans answering calls, inbound or outbound, especially first line, second line, and initial sales prospecting, it's over.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the podcast. Now, today's guest was a star on Dragon's Den and Secret Millionaire, the serial entrepreneur Piers Linney. Now, the reason he's on the show is that the world is moving at a really fast pace and AI is taking over, and Piers is really at the forefront of what's going on in AI. Let me give you a clue. In the UK, there are 6,000 call centres. They employ 812,000 people, and Piers believes none of them are needed. Not one, because AI will take over and run all of those call centers instead of human beings being involved. Now, whether you think that's a good idea or you think that's a bad idea, the fact is it's happening, whether we like it or not. And Piers is here to talk about his successful career, the challenges he's faced, but also why AI is important to understand and how we should make sure we implement it to automate as many processes as possible in our business. Let's cue the music and get into this really fascinating episode. So let's talk about the megaverse, the internet of people. Shaping the next iteration of the internet, Megaverse is powered by revolutionary blockchain technology built on decentralized community ownership. It offers users, brands, and businesses a seamless, regulated, and transparent opportunity for growth, revenue, and community building. Megaverse is accelerating user adoption and achieving these goals through multiple verticals like Megachain, a high-performance blockchain for tamper-proof transactions, Megafile system for encrypted decentralized storage, and Mega Studio, which democratizes development through collaborative and AI elements. Organizations across industries like Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, Dubai World Trade Center, and Ras Al Khaimah government have already explored the lucrative potential of a Megaverse presence. Megaverse enables users to create a Web3 future for the people where technology serves human purposes. Dive in and discover the Internet of People with Megaverse today. So Piers, thank you so much for coming to join us on the show today.
Pleasure. It's been great to meet you.
Do people kind of just think of you as a dragon? Is that what I know you're known for it, but do they, whenever you're seen in public and you're recognized, is it, that's the dragon?
Depends what day it is and how useful it is to me. So what happened was, so Dragon's Den was quite a long time ago now, right?
Yeah.
So I did The Secret Millionaire on Channel 4.
Yeah.
I was in prison. I was in prison on the program. They didn't fire me in prison. So I did that program and then I ended up on Dragon's Den. It's 10 years ago now. So it's kind of useful that you're an ex-dragon. And it's fantastic. I sit with billionaires quite often and they're all trying to, be the biggest cheese in the room, but you can't buy being a dragon. So that's quite an interesting thing. But then it went quiet. People sort of saw me in the street and they'd be like, oh, you're, I remember one story, we were in a nightclub in Ibiza, I think. And this guy all night was going, oh mate, I know. And he's going, oh, fantastic. He was buying us drinks, bottle service. At the end of the night, I said, look, I've really got to go. Really, thanks very much. You didn't have to. And he goes, mate, you're an amazing rugby player. So they kind of knew, they saw your face,
yeah,
but didn't really know who you were. And then during COVID,
yeah,
they couldn't record it, so they replayed them all. So suddenly it was like being back on TV again for 2 years. And suddenly, even the street, and everyone's like, oh, hello. But certainly all like taxi drivers, I'd say men of Asian origin, that they the ones that recognise me the most, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing to have done. It's got its ups and downs. I was always a reluctant celebrity. It didn't really interest me. Going to openings and premieres didn't interest me whatsoever.
Yeah.
I've always been quite B2B. You couldn't go and buy my stuff on the high street. So you are definitely the former dragon, which is something that I'm quite proud of. People, oh, how do you get on the programme? It's quite a long story to that, but it's something that, not everyone gets to do. And TV, like Secret Millionaire, Dragon's Den, it can immerse you in experiences that only TV can. They're not things you would ever experience in your normal life. So I'm thankful for that. And it's opened doors, been able to do things, meet people that I otherwise wouldn't have done.
That type of content that's produced on television, there's, even though it ages, there's a timelessness to it because another generation picks it up when they're watching a set of replays, and Only Fools and Horses had its time, but there's still, my kids know it.
Well, so people remember you, and the beauty of it is, I think, is inspiration. So sometimes I meet people that I've watched the programme, or about twice a year, someone stops me somewhere random. And one story is M6, someone's honking me and I'm slow in a traffic jam and he pulls up the side of me. I'm like, oh God, I've just cut this chap up. He winds the window down. I had I've got this like van conversion. Looks like an Amazon van on the outside. Looks like a private jet on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
So I had some branding on it. And he goes, oh, I recognise the branding. I can't believe you're driving it. So I'm there in my van. And he's like, I met you 4 years ago. I was watching you on Dragon's Den. I always inspired you, and I met you at an event. I wanted to start a business, didn't know what to do, didn't have the balls to do it. This is like a conversation in traffic jam.
No way.
Yeah, on the M6 in the UK. And I goes, well, glad I could help you. He goes, no, you did. We started the business. This is my wife, and I've got a tow truck here. I recover high-end cars that break down in blankets for the big companies. They don't want people to see them. Thank you very much for doing £2 million a year.
Love
that
it.
happens about twice. I get goosebumps. See? That happens about twice a year, and that's the beauty of it. I think is that it does inspire. And Dragon's Den, I think, it's kind of would have thought these formats have moved on, but I think that moment of putting your dreams and hopes and aspirations on a desk or table and 5 people in chairs say yay or nay. That's the only real televisual part of business. I mean, you run businesses. Most of it's admin and boring and hard work, and you're just tearing your hair out. So I think that's why that format works.
So I was a judge in a startup pitching contest, basically, over in Santa Monica a couple of years ago. And there was 2 days of companies pitching, and then 2 days, one day of us helping, and then a day of them pitching again, the ones that we thought could do it. And I learned a lot watching people pitch. And I learned that most people don't know how to.
No.
And it's like they're very passionate about their products or their service, but they don't know how to position it. I mean, there was one guy with a crypto business that I said to him at the end of the first day, you need to find somebody else to pitch. You're not the guy for this. Thinking he'd go away, tail between his legs. And he came back the next day with another guy.
Yeah.
And they'd been rehearsing the whole night as to how to pitch.
Yeah.
But the people that were the most convincing were the people that had the best stories.
Yeah, that's what it is at the end of the day. I mean, if you're... say someone's pitching you a real idea, right? Haven't even incorporated the business yet. So you've got that at one extreme. Other extreme, you've got a utility company, right? So utility company, the whole management team could disappear, some horrible plane crash. Doesn't matter. It's about regulatory risk, essentially. Yeah. Whereas with a startup, you're investing in the individual. People always say, what made you invest in, I probably did one of the, if not the best investment ever on Dragon's Den into a tech company. About 45x return, 100 grand in. Did okay out of it. So, but you're investing in the individual that's standing in front of you, because whatever they're telling you, the business plan, it's not going to survive contact with reality, and it's going to evolve, and it's going to have to pivot. So it is. Do I like them? Can I work with them? Can they deliver? And are they going to be able to put up with as we all know, the difficulties of trying to build a business and the sacrifice you have to make? That's what you're investing in quite often.
How did you make your money?
So I've got a long story, right? So I grew up in a mill town in Lancashire. It wasn't reasonably comfortable life. Mum and dad were working class, made it to the middle class. And then I became, I wanted to be a lawyer. And I went, you can't be a lawyer. Someone like you went to a terrible school, comprehensive school. You can't become a lawyer. So I became a lawyer. And then as a lawyer, I said, I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be an investment banker in the city of Credit Suisse, First Boston. I want to earn big bucks. Everyone said, people like you don't become bankers at Credit Suisse, First Boston. So I became a banker at Credit Suisse, First Boston. So I was always quite blinkered. And of course, by that time, I'm 23, 5, 6, I'm earning £250,000 a year, in 1996, 97, 98, quite a lot of money. And I was always like investing it, dealing with it. But since I was 13, I was always in business. I had a paper round. I built my own paper round. I was doing company formations, film finance, parties, you name it. I was always had my hand in something. So I built always in business. And then at the city, I left for the .com 1.0. So it came along. I thought, here's a gold rush. I'm going to hitch up my wagon and head west. So I left, walked out, got my bonus in 2000, walked out, started an internet business just before the crash. So that was quite painful. But the beauty of that year, I think all it was really, was I saw almost a whole economic cycle. It would normally take you 5 or 10 years in a year. So I walked out the door. I go, what are you going to go and do? I said, I'm a .com. I raised 700 grand leaving the building, right? Oh, how times have changed. Started the business, raised the finance, built it, did a down round, did a convertible, fired half the team, and I left in the space of a year. But then what happened then was I sort of thought, well, I've got these sort of skills like finance, law, what do I do? And you hear about these things called SPACs now, right? I was looking at doing SPACs in the early noughties, right? So these are just starting in America. So I tried to do the first UK SPAC, 60 million one, sterling. Couldn't quite get it away because the US model was in better. And the fund said, we can't do it. And I said, okay, what else do you do? We do PIPEs, private investment and public equity. So structured debt and equity instruments into small cap public companies. So I was all over that. So I became an estate agent for cash, from hedge funds to small caps in the UK, some in Germany and the US. Structured debt equity convertibles. And then you're raising 8 million here, 6 million there, doing 6% fees and warrants. So you start making a bit of money. I was always investing in businesses, buying things, M&A, myself, people I knew. And some became quite big. So one of them became a mobile phone business. We bought off Dixon's, DSGI, essentially. We bought the business, built it up. That was doing about 45 million revenue sterling. So doing about 1 million EBITDA when we bought it. Probably got it to about 4 or 5. Then we converted that into a cloud business and we sold that. So I had investments. And as you know, some come good, some don't. We sold some businesses and then we converted into a cloud business. Made some money out of that. We didn't really get out of that one too cleanly. But we built it up to we were kind of some of the cloud pioneers. So really investing the finance hedge fund business. And I was a partner in a hedge fund as well. So didn't make a huge amount of money there, but I learned a lot. And I got out just before, it all went horribly wrong in 2007, 8. So really it was about technology, media, telecoms. And after that really is investing the money that I'd made. And I had some wins and you had some, you had some way you spend a couple of months with your head in your hand. You don't want to get out of bed, to be quite frank. But mostly technology, some media, and telecom. So I'm not a billionaire, but I made enough money not to have to work. But I still found myself working every day.
Tell, because people talk all the time about the wins. They talk about the success stories and how they made it. And a lot of the time, there's people out there that will be listening to this and watching this that are in the headspace of, you make it look easy, and I'm struggling. I'm on the bones of my ass. My cash flow's shit. I don't even know I'm going to pay the bills at the end of the month. But they're working. They're grafting. Their heads down, their tails up, and they believe. But it's painful. Can you give us some examples of where you've had similar feelings, or you've been in situations where you're like, oh, hold on a minute here, this might not all come together?
So you've got the ones that you were running yourself. And you've got the ones where you're quite an involved investor and you're trying to support the team. And you can see, especially from experience over time, the wheels are going to fall off quite some time back down the track before they do. But you just need to act. So I have businesses I built a business, a cloud service provider. We built the business 10 million from scratch. We won a tender to do the back end for some very, very large telco companies. This is the startup, right? We did for one of the world's largest defense contractors, built their whole communication system. It was amazing. We won the Microsoft Global Hosting Partner of the Year 2010. I had lunch with Steve Ballmer, right? So we built this business up, floated it, going great. 110 people working for you, and then suddenly you realize, well, we need to raise more money. It's taking longer to get to market, get these big deals done. We had to industrialize it for these big, end of the day, what you should have done is say to these big companies, right, thanks for that, winning the tender. What we need are some revenue commitments in a contract. Otherwise, we're going to walk away. Now, they would have said to you at the time, but walk away. And then the question you've got to ask yourself is, would you have walked away? And the answer I always come back to is probably not. Because you're an entrepreneur, you think, I'll make it work.
Yeah.
So we should have walked away, but we didn't. So, and what happened with them was basically, we kind of ran out of steam. We couldn't raise more money because we kept, like the boy who cried wolf, couldn't get to market, ran out of steam, and it was sold in a fire sale. So I probably lost about 2 million. You know, it's not the huge, not massive amounts of money, but enough. It's quite painful in terms of cash flow. This is like free cash.
Yeah. So
you lose about 2 million. You know, friends invested, people invested, and it was horrific. You think that's the end of the world. And I always remember, you know, when you in the UK, when you put a company to administration, you have to go and find an independent lawyer, and it could be any lawyer. So I go find some little lawyer in an office, and I'm sat in reception, and he's waiting to come out with his stamp. It's like the death certificate of this business I've spent like 6 years building. I'm sitting there in his waiting room. I'm looking up. He's got his like TV on the wall, looking at it, and it's Philip Green in a select committee being grilled by, you know, where's the pension fund money? And I remember thinking to this day, there's always someone having a worse day. Do you know what I mean? I thought, and that's made me feel better. And I thought, you know what? And you know, he went away. I probably spent, you know, a couple of weeks, you know, just totally depressed. And now you look back, you think you learnt a lot. Everybody who work for me in that business now, senior people, have gone on to do great things. Some have come back and worked for me since. So that tells you something. So the people there and what we did was pioneering. But sometimes, no matter how clever you are, how good an operator you are, it's timing. It's just the wrong time. You were too late. You were too early. And we were probably just too early. If we set that business up and, you know, COVID had started, we were doing video conferencing. It's one of our key products, essentially. Using the Microsoft stack, we were one of the innovators. Yeah, it would have been worth $1 billion. So that's one. I can go on forever about investments.
So do you have, you know, when you see people struggling, what does it make you feel? Does it, because I look at people struggling that there's always the ones that are just enoughers, you know, the ones that shouldn't be entrepreneurs in the first place. And so they're their own death sentence, really. But the ones that are struggling, I just have this overwhelming desire to want to try and find a way, if there's anything I can do just to be a sounding board for them.
I always say it's like chasing rabbits down a hole, right? So when you start out, you think, when you talk to young entrepreneurs now, they've started a business, this is it, this is the one. And I say to them, look, this probably isn't going to be the one. It might be the second one or the third one. I'm not saying it couldn't be, you know, go at it hard, but you're going to learn and, you know, we'll see. And they're like, no, this is it. What are you talking about? This is my baby. Like, okay. But you kind of know that, you know, serial entrepreneurs are serial entrepreneurs because when they come back to the fray, they've got the experience. They know where the potholes are. It's about, you know, risk is like rings in an onion, isn't it? When you start out a new startup and you're completely fresh to it, everything's risk. And as you move out, you know, Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, those series are based on reduced risk somewhere as you move out, and your expertise grows with it. When you exit and go and start a new business, you've been through all of that, so you become a more adept, effective operator. So what I found is that when you're young, you will chase rabbits down holes all the way until you get stuck and you can't get back out. Mm-hmm. I think as you get more and more experience, you start to, like you said, you try and work your best, try and find your way, but you sort of begin to think that, well, if I go any deeper, I'm not going to get out of this hole. Mm. So the hardest thing to do, the hardest thing I've learned is knowing when to stop. So I had a business 2 years ago, again, started it, put some money in, people I know put money in. I wanted to set up like a mobile kind of operator for SMEs and content and support. Couldn't really raise all the money we needed for it and had to sort of stop. And it's the hardest, in recent years, probably the hardest 6 months of my life that was. Because I was just thinking, when is that moment where I really am going to have to stop? Now, sometimes it's because you know it's not going to work out. Sometimes it's legal because there comes a point where you're going to start thinking about your creditors, not your shareholders. So, you know, they're the hardest moments, I think. But as you mature in entrepreneur and business, whether it's a person you've hired, it could be the same dynamic. Whether it's a product, it could be the same dynamic. Whether it's a whole business, it's learning when to stop and to, you know, take what you can, pivot if you can, or just stop, count your blessings and move on.
Talk to me about leaders. You've worked in business for many years. There was someone along the way that was a great leader that you experienced.
Not really, no.
Really?
No, people will say to me, who's your mentor, who's your guide in life? I never really had one, to be honest with you. So what I found a lot of my strength were from like co-founders. So I've got a co-founder in the telecoms business, some of my technology businesses, who's a very good friend. And we literally have been through the mill. I mean, you talk about moments where you both sat looking at each other across the desk like this thinking, how the hell are we going to get out of this one?
Yeah.
Or this hole or this or that? And you've always managed, but having that someone that's not like me, two of me in a room would be an absolute nightmare. Some very different people. My new business, Implement AI, I've got a co-founder, Alok, who's the CEO. So, we're quite different people. So that works quite well. Now, when I was
But is that strategic? Or is that by accident?
No, just that we've come together and thought there's something between us that we can add value, work together well, let's do it. It wasn't really I didn't go out looking for a co-founder, start a business. But when I was a lawyer and a banker, I wouldn't say they were leaders. They were people that were very good at what they did that I looked up to. And they weren't mentors in a structured way or even unstructured way. I just watched what they did. I listened, did what they're told, and I learned. The only close person I've ever had to a mentor, I would say, is probably Sir Ken Alyssa. So he's the Lord Lieutenant of Greater London. So he looks after the royal family whenever they're out in London, essentially, whoever they are. He's been quite busy recently, funerals, coronations. And he's not really a mentor in a formal way, but he's someone that every 6 months or even 12 months, I'll sit down with him and I'll have a chat. And not the last one before that, I'd done a few deals and hadn't quite worked out, and I was just a bit tired, and I was sitting there in his office whinging. He looked at me, he said, look at me, and I went, what? He said, self-pity doesn't become you, sort it out. And I thought, you know what? Sometimes I need someone to say that to me, because people just blow smoke up your backside half the time. And I remember walking out there thinking, thank you. It was like someone just, he proverbially got hold of me and just slapped me across the face and said, pull yourself together, get you together. And I walked out of the office thinking, he's absolutely right. And boom, off I went again.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I think about, I had an interesting conversation yesterday. So I was with Brian Rose, who's from London Real. And he was on the podcast in Dubai, and he said, when you're in London, come to see my setup, and then you can see the difference in both of our studios. And so I went over there and had a look yesterday and saw the whole setup, and it was fantastic. And we spent an hour and a half going through everything that he does that's different to what I do. And when he came on the podcast, he got home that evening and he sent me a video. He said, Spence, thanks so much, blah, blah, blah. I said, 4 things I think you should do to change your podcast. And I was like, wow, this guy's taken this time out, he's observed it and he's given me this advice. I took the advice, I implemented everything said. Went yesterday when I did that thing. And it was like being coached by someone that was further down the road at me without being coached. And I said, why are you taking the time to do it? He said, I could just see you as passionate about it as I am. And it was so refreshing. He's like, no, don't do that. And he's like, what the hell have you got people in the room for when you're in Dubai? Get them out of the room. I don't want to hear that. But that kind of like that, being precise and direct with me.
But it can be harder when you like think you're a natural entrepreneur. You think you know everything, and some people I had to learn to listen. So I thought, because it's like you keep putting chips on red, and it keeps coming up red. You're like, well, I don't need any help until a couple of times, it doesn't come up with the wrong color. So I'm kind of okay. Then you start to listen to people. So it took me a while actually to start to listen to people properly, rather than pretending I'm listening to them and taking advice.
Did you, when it came to business, so this is what I found. I was playing in a place where I was earning 3 or 4 million quid a year. So I thought with my peer group, I was the Don.
Yeah.
I was earning proper coin, doing very well for myself.
But were you happy?
I wasn't paying tax on it. And so I was earning that money, and in my world that I lived in, my ecosystem, I was really successful. And I never stepped out of that place. So I had nothing to compare to until I did. And then I met people that kind of stuff is a weekly wage.
Yeah.
Like they live in a whole different stratosphere. And I'm like...
That's all about London. The money in London, you go to some place where I grew up and everyone like Manchester, some places, everyone's driving up down some AMG up and down the high street. And in London, no matter what you've got, where you are, who you think you are, someone's got a bigger car, a better car, a bigger boat, several more houses. It doesn't matter. So I think that people get increasingly lost on that. And I think that I've just come back from Japan and I was just doing some posts about it. I'll do some more as well. It just reminded me actually that you don't need to have everything. You need to have what you need to make you happy, and that dedication and discipline is a real superpower. Don't try and be the jack of all trades, master of none. Pick one thing and just be world class at it. I was doing tea ceremonies, 4 years training, sumo, 10 years training, doing the same thing every day.
Yeah. But when you look at money, because business invariably ends up being a discussion for a lot of people, especially in the earlier days, about money and how much is enough. And, I have one guy who's a billionaire, he's a friend of mine, and he says, I said to him, when I used to look at spreadsheets, the numbers used to lift off the spreadsheets. And I don't know why, but they'd lift off so I could analyse them, and then they'd move around and go into the place I thought they should go. And he said, that's a really interesting observation. He goes, I can taste money. I can taste numbers. And he's from where you're from,
you're dyslexic.
He is too.
Yeah.
Okay, but he says that when I look at numbers on a spreadsheet, I can taste them. Now, he's motivated and always has been by money. He likes making money. That's his thing. He likes making money. He doesn't have a huge team of people. He has a very successful asset-focused business, but he likes making money. For me, once I'd made a certain amount of money, it stopped being a tool for a tool to pursue.
Well, it's that overflowing cup analogy, isn't it?
So, but what I want to know about you,
it depends.
do you like making money?
I do, but it depends. So I've like sometimes I meet people like you're saying you've been earning £3 million a year, right? I've never paid myself £3 million a year. So I've always gone after capital in many ways. And the problem with capital is, as you know, you can end up with a lot of capital, but you run into a cash flow hole. So sometimes I want to make a lot of money because I want the cash flow and do and just have that freedom. And then you'll exit something and think, oh, okay, I can chill out now for several years. So I like making money. I like the chase of it, the challenge. But I think when I was younger, it was all about that. I was a banker. I was a lawyer.
But was it money or was it winning?
No, it was. I wanted stuff. I wanted stuff. Right? I wanted Maserati. I had 911s, all this stuff. I wanted stuff. Right? I wanted the apartments, the whole thing. But then, and quite interesting, the brother of someone I know very well, he recently bought his Aventador. He's pimping his Aventador. And I'm like, listen, as soon as you put it on the drive and you get the keys and you get home and you lock it, you'll be bored and you'll never drive it. You'll do 200 miles in it and then you probably sell it for, I think he didn't in the end. He sold more than he got because the market went the right way. But it's that kind of thing. I got bored of the stuff. But I do like... You're measured in business, as you correctly said, by this triple bottom line is great, but actually it's about making money, especially if you involve external investors, because then it absolutely is about making money because they are hoping and they've backed you to go and make them a return of at least 3x, 4x, 5, depending what the hell it is. And so you're expected to, and I quite like that, but it can be pressure. And I think that as the years have passed now, I'm kind of over raising lots of money. I want businesses that just make money.
So you're kind of like you're focused on passive income type structures or
recurring
income.
I don't believe in passive income. I don't think it exists.
But businesses that pay you an income? Or do you still look for businesses to build to exit?
Businesses that can make money. No, I'm always looking at exit. I don't live in Dubai. So I want to be in capital gains, not income, right? So I'm always looking at businesses you can build to exit, but businesses where they can sort of pay their way more. The days of... I've done it so many times of stressing over raising finance. And when you say you're an entrepreneur, but you're actually not. You're just a fundraiser, right? And I'm over it. So
you're the guy with the deck going out, pitching. So you're just basically selling to raise capital.
You call yourself a CEO and you're hiring people to go and actually be the CEO. Oh, I've got a COO. Well, they're actually the CEO, to be quite frank. Yeah. All you're doing is that raising finance and chatting to people. So and I've never done the big one. So I've never done the 100 million exit. Right, so I'm still. That's my challenge in life. Not because I want the money, I just want to do it. I want the 100, 200 million exit. I've done like 5, 10, 20, 3, and it adds up and it compounds as you invest. It's great, but I've never done the big one. And if I did the big one, I know John Caldwell, right? And you look at John, who's doing amazing things in property. Both in the UK and France, various other places, rebuilding half of Mayfair, because he wants to make another couple of billion, so he can give, it was 70%, and gives up to 80% away to his foundation after he's gone. So then you start getting into that realm, I think, which is philanthropy, and what can you do with it? I'm not that wealthy yet, but John Caldwell's model is the sort of the North Star for me, to quite frank.
And did John Caldwell, do you believe, when he started that business, Phones for You or Phones for You? Phones for You. When he started Phones for You, do you think he had any ambition of it becoming $1 billion business, or do you think he was just?
Well, John started dealing cars in Stoke-on-Trent down the road from where I grew up, right? And then
he was a car salesman first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Him and his brother. You should read his book. All the money goes to charity. I'll give it a plug. And he then got into mobile at the right time. So it was like shooting fish in a barrel. But even then, when you talk to him or even read his book, you go for all the machinations and the people trying to kill his business. And it was just like ruthless, super competitive, hyper competitive, that market. But he was determined, and he could see that I can go from like wherever I am to being a billionaire. And he absolutely, I mean, John, I know people that work for John. I was in that business, telecommunications. And he was hard work, from what I've heard. And he'd be the first person to admit that. But he was on a mission. And he, at the end of the day, he delivered. People, again, that used to work for him have gone on to do great things. They all look up to him. And he's made his billions. He'll make another couple of billion. And he's giving most of it away to charity.
Okay, so let's talk about how the world's evolving, because the next gold rush is obviously this whole AI, and it's bandied around quite loosely nowadays. It started off being, what the hell is it? And now it's becoming like everything's an AI, everything, let's AI this, let's AI that. And I think some of that's getting lost in translation now. And I think, business or some entrepreneurs have been saying, look, you need to apply AI to your business urgently, otherwise you're going to be left behind. But it's almost making people so confused by it that the time, effort, and energy they need to invest in it to learn about it becomes overwhelming for them. Yeah. It's a little bit like I saw with, definitely with investing, but with crypto as well. That people kind of like, it's too much for me.
Big difference. It's like cloud, right? So crypto, I did quite well in crypto, but crypto, cloud, it is. So cloud infrastructure, moving to the cloud, you could do it now, you could do it in 3 years.
Do me a favour, let's just keep this cloud bit in a way that everyone will understand this, because you and I are running at a pace because we understand each other.
I'll explain
just
it.
Help if you can.
So essentially you can move your computers from your office or cupboard, right, to the cloud. Amazon, Google, where you don't need to run our own computers. They're in data centers, right? You all use apps, so that's now cloud technology. You don't think about it now. When I started my first business, I had servers in my front room, on ISDN connections, not even that Ethernet, with the internet we know and love today. So cloud, really, you've got to transition to the cloud, move away from owning infrastructure to renting it, essentially. And I give keynotes today about transitioning to the cloud, where I pull up the notes that I used 10 years ago. Same speech.
No.
Yeah, exactly the same speech. Just change the names. Crypto, right? Big believer in the power of blockchain, but the use case, and it kind of got lost in making money as opposed to what are the real use cases? Mm-hmm. What is its benefit to business and society? People were building businesses in the crypto bubble, which is not really relevant to the rest of the society or the sort of economy, essentially. AI is different. So AI is a technology that is, I look at everything I've ever done. I've been, a trustee of the UK's largest innovation foundation, done lots of things, and it all points at this technology and this opportunity. And I looked at it and I thought, do I want to invest in AI? Because it's moving so quickly, you can lose your shirt. There's so many companies that have been established and have been disrupted within 3 to 6 months in AI. So to me, this is the biggest wave that's going to hit the crash on the beach in my lifetime. You can forget the internet. This is much bigger. So my view was, I've got to paddle into it. And how do you go about doing that? So the point is this, is that you now are productizing, commoditizing intelligence. So AI today, if people get confused, AI today is like a toaster, okay? It does things very, very well, but it's a tool. In the future, you may have AGI, artificial general intelligence, where it's recursively learning and improving. So one of the founders.
So instead of you setting the toaster at a thing, it's working out how you like your toast and making it the best way possible for you.
Going beyond that, it's working
and then buttering it for you as well.
Well, it's working out ways to grow toast with butter and jam on it, already toasted in ways we don't even understand. You know what I mean?
What a great analogy. That's brilliant.
Yeah, so you look at one of the founders of Demis Sabis was talking about chess. So he was saying that they built it was Alpha Zero, where it couldn't play any games, and they gave it chessboard, the rules, the pieces, said, go and learn. So first of all, in the morning, it's randomly just all over the place, moving piece, don't know what's going on. He was a chess champion himself, Demis, and by lunchtime, he can just about still beat it. By dinner time, it's the best chess player in the world there's ever been. That's one day. That's AGI. So we're not quite there yet. It could be a week away. It could be 10 years away. But right now we've got AI, which is a tool. But what that does basically is allow you to ignore all the jargon. Just think about this. You have employees. You're going to have AI agents. So you're going to be able to automate processes. One of the ones that we focus on implement AI is voice. So imagine a call center. What have you got? A human answering the phone. They've got to answer the phone, talk to the person, type up the notes, need a chair, headset, a computer, office lights. They go on holiday, training, 40% churn a year, absolute nightmare of a model. AI, it's all in the cloud on servers. It can speak to your customers, understand how they're feeling from their tone of voice, talk to them in any language. It sounds just like a human, can access any knowledge base, answer any question, can be updated instantaneously, all of them at once. So the concept of a human answering a phone in a call center, a first line support, will be gone within 24 months. Might not be gone in terms of it still disappeared, but the technology will be there to replace it. It won't make any sense. So the technology is not just the AI, it's the intelligence, it's the wraparound, it's the user interface. So the point is this, is that AI is exponential. And it starts to take off, you don't need to sort of completely drop everything and transform your business in an AI-assisted company. Today, all of it. We've got to start learning how to do it because...
You got to stop it for a minute.
If it takes off, it's like a ship leaving a harbour. It's accelerating away. You can make the leap onto the ship, but as that gap widens, you can't. And unlike cloud or crypto where you can catch up, this ship is never coming back.
Okay. Let's talk about some case studies here so we can give ourselves some context. So a call center. So let's say I've got a company and we're selling, let's say financial advice, because I've got one of those. And I've got 50 wealth managers working for me, and their way of getting their new clients is, the slog of getting referrals and introductions. There's a bit of lead gen that's done online, but someone's still got to get on the phone and call people and try and pitch them. You're telling me, instead of having to worry about all of the time, effort, and energy it takes for those people to do all of those calls, that can be done in an automated fashion for them.
Today.
And how much square footage in an office does that take up?
0.
So I've got my office, I've got my 50 desks in, I've got the water, I've got the sandwich lady, I've got the plants,
rates,
I've got the cleaners,
heating.
I've got the rates, I've got the lot. Okay. And I can replace all of that, get rid of all of that responsibility, and it's
all on a server in an Amazon or Google or Microsoft data center somewhere where you don't even know where it is. Probably we probably need to know, depending if you're regulated, but probably in the EU or the UK. And there's no more physical infrastructure whatsoever.
And will I get the same result?
So the point about AI is
because that's the question, isn't it? Okay, so I replace all these salespeople with this AI sales force, essentially. How can I be sure that this AI is going to be as good?
It's just better. So it can understand the person's what mood they're in. It can do sentiment analysis. It can speak any language. It can access all your data. It will never forget to do an upsell or a cross-sell like humans do. It won't get tired. It won't get in the mood. It won't have a bad day. It won't go on holiday. It won't resign.
It won't have a hangover.
It won't nick all your customer data and run somewhere else with it. So the beauty is this, is that it's just better.
And it'll update the CRM?
Update the CRM because it's just
because the salespeople ain't doing
that. So you
that.
think about it, right? Any process where you've got a human on a computer taking in data, thinking about it, doing something, and then re-inputting that data somewhere else can be automated.
Okay. I think we need to do 3 or 4 of these examples because I think they're...
Right, let's do financial planning.
Well, we just did. We just said financial planning. We've got 50 guys.
Well, that's sales and marketing. So what's a financial planner do? So you come in.
Oh, the actual job of the financial planner.
You come in, you know more than I do about this. You come in, you sit down and go, I'm really interested in working with you. You go, okay. So you sign up, and then every so often you've got to write a report. So somebody these days is logging into 5 different systems, working out where their portfolio is, whatever it is, and then pulling that information and literally transposing it physically into a report, an Excel spreadsheet, coming up with analysis, and then transposing that then into probably a PowerPoint presentation or something.
Yeah.
It could all be automated. Now, the rub is this. Today, it can be automated and it's pretty good. But this is getting better every 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So the thing about AI is not to think of the technology today, imagine it in a year's time or 2 years' time.
Okay, so implementing it now, and will that technology? So if I spend money in my business for that technology, okay, whatever that cost is that's not going to go out of date, that investment?
No. So
because it's in
it won't
the
go out
olden
of
days
date.
when we buy a piece of software and 6 months later it was out of date, and we're like, oh, you need the new software.
No, it doesn't go out of date. But the problem is that not the problem. The opportunity is that you don't have to change anything. So what happens is in the back end of your we call it AI call agent, right? You've got a large language model. So it might be OpenAI, it could be Google, Gemini, whatever it is. One of the meta ones. You can just swap it out for a new one. So now we're on OpenAI ChatGPT 4 or 3.5 Turbo. New one comes out, you just swap it out, and it's just better. It's better at understanding it. And now, OpenAI has got voice engine. They haven't even launched yet. We don't quite know why. I think it's because of the election, because it's so good at replicating someone's voice that you don't know. You're already seeing, there's one in Hong Kong, or was it China, where somebody stole $35 million because their boss called them and told them to transfer it for an M&A deal. It wasn't the boss at all, it was an AI. So forget deep fake video, deep fake voice is far more dangerous because you don't need to worry. I mean, the video is pretty good these days. We don't need to worry about what they look like, it's what they sound like. So, think about cyber attacks, the amount of people where your mum's going to call you up and say, oh, can you send me £200? You can do that at scale. And all you need is a few seconds of someone's voice.
Okay. Let's take some other business-related examples of everyday businesses of people. So in Dubai, we have thousands of real estate brokerages.
Yeah.
Their model, is to call homeowners and see if they would like to sell, and they run Facebook ads to try and generate leads for off-plan developments. Yeah. Every single real estate broker, until they've established themselves and got a client list long enough to service them, they are on the phones making 50 calls a day, every one of them. So a friend of mine's got a company, he's got 600 agents, every one of them's making 50 calls a day, whether that's lettings, whether that's secondary market sales, off-plan. My other friend, he's got 700 people. So, and every one of them takes a chunk of the day. And the problem is forever, kicking them to get those calls done, because they don't want to do it, and they don't like the rejection on the phone and everything else. And so then they have 50% staff turnover, because the staff leave because they don't like the rejection.
It's hard work, isn't it? Yeah.
And they're a recruitment company. They're not a real estate company.
You can automate it now.
So how will we automate it? What are we going to do? So what's the process?
So we have it now. So essentially we call it an AI call agent. So what happens is you train it on your product, your service, how you want to talk to the customers, the tone of voice, everything, your brand, the whole lot. It will then initiate a call and call your customers. All your customers call in. Okay, and it'll have a conversation. So you have a conversation just like a human. And you've got to remember that, especially customer support as opposed to sales, no one really cares you're talking to an AI. What they want is a flipping answer. They want a solution. Whether it's a human or an AI, they don't care. I just want it fixed, right? In sales and marketing, people think that, people aren't going to like an AI. But in some ways they do, because they're infinitely patient. You can be rude to them. It's not a human. They are very knowledgeable because they know everything about your business, your product. They don't have a bad day. So you can now automate those calls outbound or inbound today. And the underlying model, that interface, that experience is only getting better. And I'm talking about on a monthly basis. I mean, we have an AI call agent where we listen to all the calls. At the end of the calls, people say, thank you very much. They've been really helpful. And I'm like, it's like thanking your toaster. But because we're human, and because it's so realistic, and because it went so well, they feel as though they have to thank it and be polite to a machine, essentially. Super powerful. So I'm telling you now, humans answering calls, inbound or outbound, especially first line, second line, and initial sales prospecting, it's over.
That's nuts.
And you think of the money, obviously think about the jobs, but think about the money people are going to save. Sales prospecting, super powerful. So think about a sales prospecting process, right? What are you trying to do? You've got a CRM with 10 fields that you want to fill out. So first name, last name, income, all the usual stuff. So you're on a call, you're trying to get information out, blah, 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 and then someone's then typing into a field. It's structured information. On a call, I can chat to you about what you do, your name, your hobbies, and all the information. even the AIs today, the large language models, can extract the information you want, first name, last name, address, income, all that stuff, and put it into your CRM. But what you also capture, though, is all that unstructured gold dust. Who they are, how do they sound, what are their hobbies.
The psychographics.
There's a lot. And you could take that and then think about it now. When you respond to that person, you're not saying, dear Mr. Linney, thank you for taking the call today. Here is our brochure, right? You are sending them immediately a PDF, whatever it might be, or your brochure that you personalize to them. So now personalized responses tend to be, I've got, 100 people to respond to. I've got 5 kind of personas, avatars. So I've got 5 different documents I'm going to send to them, depending on what they told us, right? In this model, you send each of them a personalized response. It's 100.
So you're telling me I don't need
1,000.
I don't need a ring binder and a franking machine.
No, none of that. And so think about it. If you're trying to sell someone something and you get them on the phone and they listen and they finish the call, and then who's going to win the deal? The person that sends them a standardized email 24 hours later, whenever the hell it happens, or someone who sends them a personalized response based on what they want, even a picture of them is standing outside their ideal home, because you can actually create the photograph if you've got a picture of them. A personalized response that's absolutely based on who they are and what makes them tick. Who's most likely to win that deal?
Oh, for sure. The person that delivers the best package. Okay, let's take some other examples then of automation that AI can solve in
data.
Take an accountancy business or a law firm.
I'm a lawyer by training. I mean, lawyers are in trouble.
See, I think the whole getting into the legal business now is dangerous for young people because technology can do their job.
Well, I wrote a blog called "The End of the Trainee."
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's on my website.
Tell me about that.
So I was a lawyer by training, and typically in a law firm, it's a pyramid shape in terms of talent, right? You've got the partners at the top and a lot of grunts, essentially. You've got associates, and then it goes down to the sort of trainees. What's happening is increasingly, what is law? So law is looking at, depending on what kind of law you're doing, but a lot of it's looking at data sets and applying logic and drafting and creating documents, right? It's language. There's a clue in the name, large language models. They're very good at it. So what you're going to see increasingly is you're not going to need the grunts, the trainees. So you get an inverted pyramid. And over time, though, what's going to happen is because there's no talent coming in, at the top, they're going to be forced to automate the process in document generation. And it's also already very, very good at it. So law, document generate. Anything where you're creating documents, the current AI, it's not AGI, the current AIs are very, very good at doing it. If you're in accountancy, they're not quite as good at getting there in terms of mathematics and adding things up. What you can do, though, is take the information, export it, do the calculation somewhere else, and then sort of, import it back in again in terms of the model and then the outputs. But accounting firms, anyone where you've got a knowledge worker. So think about this. Everybody thought that, Uber drivers, forklift truck drivers, admin assistants, they were the ones that are going to be disrupted. They probably are, but actually think about it. If you've got somebody walking around your office costing you $400,000 a year, they've got a pretty big bullseye on their back. So what's going to go first? Expensive knowledge workers, because this technology does it very, very well. And as I said, don't think about the technology today. Think about it in a year, 2 years, 5 years. So any knowledge work is going to be massively disrupted.
Okay, any knowledge work. So let's take universities and schools. The whole admission systems fully automating those.
Yeah, but so the other one, another blog about careers in AI. So if you're sitting here listening to this thinking, well, hang on a minute, that's what I do for a living. You've now got to think about your career and think about, how do I plan a career or business plan that isn't, knowing what I know today about this technology, is not going to be headed off at the pass by it. You don't want a career or business model. It's going to intersect. Yeah. So you look at OpenAI. So where was it now? It was on a lot of startups were trying to create videos, so text to video, and then OpenAI announced, this came out on Twitter by Sam Altman, that they launched Sora. So if you haven't seen Sora,
I've heard of Sora. Yeah.
It creates like HD. It's like
it's the videos.
Video.
Yeah, I saw.
It's insane, right? And what was interesting is on Twitter, because it was this article about Sora and text-to-video, I was reading Twitter, it's then sticking in the adverts about text-to-video startups. And you look at, they're all dead. So it's kind of the danger is that this, if you've got a large language model like OpenAI provider, and they see it and you see a huge opportunity on top of it, so you go after it. If it's that big, they're going to absorb it. So you've got to think very carefully about where you place your bets, especially in your career.
So anyone who's got kids that are going to be going into university over the course of
like me, my daughter starting GCSEs tomorrow.
Okay. So what kind? Okay, but this is a great case study then. So what's the conversation that you'll be having with her right now?
The first conversation I had with her is she uses ChatGPT Plus she's got tutors to help her, but she uses ChatGPT as a tutor, infinitely patient. I've prompted it in terms of what syllabus she's doing, what subjects, where she is. If she doesn't understand something, it doesn't give her the answer. It makes it easier and easier and easier until she gets it. So I think I've prompted it. And I've got 3 children, and they all did, or 2 of them did actually, an AI summer school. So one was entrepreneurial and one was more creative. Mm-hmm. And it was about using these tools just to get things done faster and be more productive. Because what you have to do is kind of augment yourself. So there's 3 layers of AI, I think. One is personal, you. So if you're not using Claude Pro or ChatGPT as yourself, as a mentor, as a sounding board, I talk to ChatGPT Plus, because you can do now in the app. I talk to it and just have a conversation with it as a sounding board, and it gives me ideas. It's insane. If you're not using yourself to augment and superpower yourself, you're already behind.
Hold on a minute. You need to say that again, because a lot of people...
I'll give you an example.
They would have just heard you say that for a minute.
Right, let me give you an example. So there's other ones, right? Claude's very good, but ChatGPT Plus, $20 a month. Once you've got the app, you can talk to it. So you set it going, it spins around, it goes talk. So I'm sitting in I'm driving up the M6 again, going to see my mum as usual in the UK. And I'm struggling because we've implemented AI. I'm thinking, look, we've got all these different AIs and services, but how do I communicate that to a potential client? And I said, I don't want to have lots of different SaaS products. Mm-hmm. I want to have this sort of holistic way of explaining it. And ChatGPT said to me, Piers, think of each product AI you have as a musician with an instrument. He said, your product is not the musician instrument, it's the orchestra. And I was like, okay, all right, where are you going with this? But what if they don't want a full orchestra? Well, what they may want is enough people of these AIs to produce a jazz band or a quartet. And I thought, that's just, it stuck with me. And that's how I actually describe it now. We can sell you, a quartet, someone who can play the guitar, or a whole flipping orchestra. What do you want in your business? And it's these things where you can just bounce ideas off it, infinitely patient, you're never gonna feel stupid, where you have someone, a mentor or a partner to talk to all the time.
That I haven't gone that far.
So if anyone's doing that, trust me, it's the best $20 a month you're ever going to spend. That's you. Then you've got your business. Then you've got nation states.
Okay, elaborate.
So you should be augmenting yourself with AI to make yourself better and get ahead of the game, basically. Why wouldn't you? I always say, the analogy I like to use is this. You've been forced to go into a cage fight, right? You're not really good at cage fight. I haven't really done much of it. And you look at this champion cage fight waiting for you, and someone says to you, listen, if you want to, you can take Iron Man in with you. And you go, I can't bother. I don't know how it works. And they shut the gate behind you. It's like that. Why wouldn't you use this technology? That's one level. Next level is you've got a business, an organization. You should be looking at it and looking in your workflows, your processes, where's the biggest ROI for us to implement this technology now? Not something small around the periphery, something that really is a game changer. So you should be doing that. Makes you more competitive, makes you more productive. You can grow without growing your costs. You can M&A. You can buy a company, extract more value from it. And then you've got nation states. Countries should be thinking about how they make sure that individuals, organizations implement this technology. Because like I said, once that ship leaves the harbor in an exponential world, it isn't coming back.
But when you think about this, that's really quite interesting what you say. You take an organisation like the NHS,
Yeah.
Okay, it's known from all of us that live in this country that it's not the best run organisation out there. Probably the money that's spent in terms of budget allocation is a huge amount of money, and I bet a stack of it gets wasted every single year. So in essence, by using AI the right way, you may be able to have massive cost savings for the NHS from replacing the automation, which would mean less money would have to be spent, which potentially could mean, okay, that you could reduce taxes.
Yeah.
They won't, but that's the potential. You take a business, every single business has got parts of the business that could and should be automated, which would, regardless of whether they made any more sales, any more profit, any more revenue, could mean that the company could be more profitable, yielding a better return to the shareholders, even if they don't make a single penny more.
Yeah. So
for me, it's like, where's the conversation to be had around why you shouldn't use it?
Well, I don't see why there is one.
Exactly.
That's my point, though. That's the point. It's about the Iron Man analogy.
Yeah.
Why the hell wouldn't you take Iron Man into that ring?
Okay, so then the question must be, why, if it's that obvious, is there that much naivety around it?
Because there's a process involved. So what we've, simply about AI, what we've kind of found really is that when you talk to an organization about AI, right, most companies, they do what they do it quite well. Mm-hmm. They've never really had an R&D budget. They never really innovated. Innovation was, I've got to put in a CRM or build a website, right? Or maybe get some lead gen software.
Lead magnet, yeah.
That was kind of it. And they never really innovated. So when you approach them and say, do you want to innovate with artificial intelligence? Here's a budget. They don't really know. So we kind of approach it now as like a pyramid. Like, imagine a pyramid, it's kind of in the middle of it. Below that, you've got what we call optimization. So do what you do better. Be more productive, be more efficient, save money, essentially. And when you're ready, maybe it's straight away, maybe you're ready, the top of the pyramid, you've got innovation. So actually, how do you use technology to do things other people aren't doing to create an unfair competitive advantage? Because eventually, AI will be like spell check. Everyone's going to have it. All the SaaS companies are implementing AI. Everyone's going to have the same capability. Question for you is, how do I use technology to do something different, adds more value to all of our stakeholders and our customers? So,
yeah, because essentially the first part of it is a race to the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah. It's Moloch.
Yeah.
Everyone's racing down to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's literally as that. So the point is that organizations, what we do is say to look, just look at policy, governance, training. Your first tool really is train, understand it. We have clients where we say to them, where do you think you could automate? And they haven't got a clue, right? We then train their team what AI is capable of. Suddenly, all the ideas come out. It's like, you know what? I never knew you could do that. I spend 6 hours a week doing this. And knowing what you've told me, I think you can automate that. Yes, we can. So the training's first, and then you get into optimize and then innovate. So it's not something that a lot of organizations have really thought about before. But
here's one for you then. So you've got this business, and with this business, you're able to create automated solutions for your clients. Looking then at your business, how do you automate what you do to bring the automation to the clients?
So we've got this
because we had a chat off camera, didn't we, before? And it's like, do you know people? Do I know people? It's like, hold on, we don't need that.
It's like any entrepreneur, isn't it? You're so busy building things for your customers. You're like, well, we should use it. So we're kind of catching up now a little bit. So we almost look at ourselves in meetings and say, you hear this thing about, trying to create the 5-person unicorn. Right? Uh-huh. Now, we don't want to have that conversation, but we're trying to automate ourselves out of jobs. Uh-huh. So eventually, we want to, our sales outreach is more, we're using more and more call agents. Then we've got a great thing where, this is a good one for financial services. So we have a meeting agent. So imagine that I'm a young whippersnapper, I've joined your business, I want to talk to customers and be a consultant, whatever it is, could be window cleaning, roofing, whatever. And you're like, wow, hang on a minute, I've been doing this now for 10 years, watch me. And no. So now we have a system that knows what question you should ask. And as someone's talking to a client in real time or in video, it's going through and checking that you've asked the right questions. If you haven't, it's prompting you on what you should ask and fill in the blanks. So by the end of it, a junior first day consultant has the same expertise, will ask the same questions and get the information you want to extract from that person that someone who's been doing it for 20 years will. And not only that, in real time, it's doing sentiment analysis, saying, are they happy? Are they, and just on voice.
So that's...
So upskilling.
But
so now a 20 grand a year person is doing 100 grand a year person's quality of work.
yeah, absolutely. But it's like, for me, it's like, where does the person that brings that to those companies, what's the business plan for your business to solve that problem for other businesses? Now, you said to me that,
So our businesses...
I want to know what the actual... Okay,
so
what's your go-to-market strategy?
I want to create the orchestra. So imagine that you've now got a payroll, of human payroll. We create an AI agent payroll. So automations, agents, automatons. And what we do, currently they're augmented, they're put together. Now, there are some things AI does that humans can't, like data analysis. So if you imagine Alok, he's a CEO of Implement AI, my sort of co-founder, he calls it your sort of predator spectral vision. So imagine you're looking at a blank room, everyone can see the same nothing. Suddenly, you can analyze data in ways that nobody else can. So you can now start to see things nobody else can. Because you can see them, you can react to them. In Predator, you're going to shoot them, right? But in business, you start to develop products, services, engage people in different ways. So that in itself, humans can't really do. So there's some things that are kind of embedded agents. They're just crunching data and coming up with insights. But the agents across the top, they work with your employees and basically automate the mundane. Automate the admin, automate the stuff that people who work for you don't want to do. And in the future...
just the shit parts of everything.
But in the future, if you don't augment your employees, no one worth their soul is going to come and work for you. Why the hell should they? They're going to go somewhere where all the crap they hate doing is automated for them.
But what will be left? What's the bits that people are going to end up liking?
That's a whole different podcast. So I think that in the short to medium term, it's all about augmentation, right? This is the tool designed by humans to replicate in some way. It's not good at everything, but there's certain things it's very good at, right? Longer term, if they solve AGI, it's a recursive learning. It's a new species, basically, that we can't compete with. Now, what's also happening at the same time, we've had a couple of false dawns of robotics, and now you're seeing these humanoid robots that are very, very capable. And before, it used to take, endless amount of time to explain to an AI what the hell a glass was. You had a million pictures of glasses, all different types, shapes, different angles, so they knew what a glass was. Now, you used to get ChatGPT Plus, take a picture of anywhere and say, describe the room to me. It'll describe the room. I mean, I was at a conference and I did one with lawyers there, and it was at, the Ned in the UK. Yeah. It's like an old building, and I was in the top, and I took this picture of the room, and along the top, it's got these old, heraldry, all like Masonic signs.
Yeah, it has,
been there for 100 years or so. And he described the room with all these lawyers looking at me attentively, then went into one about the heraldry on the room. So you can understand that kind of detail.
Wow.
So you put that into a humanoid robot that can navigate the world like we do, and it becomes super powerful. So the days of, everyone has said that it was going to be, your admin assistants, your sort of cheaper labor. It isn't. It's knowledge work, but very quickly it's coming for physical labor. I think in my children's lifetime, it will be illegal for humans to work on a building site. They'll never get insurance. It'd be illegal probably for a human to drive a car in a built-up area. Could never get insurance. Autonomous cars today are safer than humans. We're just terrified of it because when it does run somebody over, or hell breaks loose. But incidents and accidents per mile driven, they're already safer.
Yeah. And when did you see in Dubai the other day, they had 2 AI-powered Formula 1 cars?
No.
Sorry.
I was
they had one AI-powered Formula 1 car and one Formula 1 car with a human in it.
Right.
And they raced each other
and who won?
The racetrack. Who do you think won?
Yeah.
No. What actually happened is the human, drove into the AI car.
Okay. Well, then,
and then had an accident.
But so there's another example, which is the US Air Force. The US Air Force, they're now testing AIs. So they now have just recently done exactly the same. They've had an AI, a human, like Top Gun.
Fighter pilot, yeah.
Fighter pilot against the AI. And what happened was the AI always wins because he has no fear of death. In dogfights, you also get behind and shoot them. They just come head on. They don't care. They don't have human fear. And the human's always going to bottle it.
Yeah. How mad is that? It's been fascinating talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Pleasure.
I mean, the AI and the development of that's great, but I think more importantly, getting someone like you on this show for people to feel that being an entrepreneur, okay, the pain that exists being an entrepreneur is real for everybody. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows for you, but you've just got to keep evolving. And here you are with your next businesses evolving and going forward. Can we get you to Dubai to come and talk to entrepreneurs? Can we get you to Dubai to come and teach people about how using what you do with AI can help save the companies that we work with money?
Yeah, I'm passionate about it. This is the wave I'm paddling into. I think it's bigger than the internet. It's a huge opportunity. I think everyone should learn how to start building an AI-assisted organization so that as the technology evolves, that they are ahead of the game. So we always say, implement AI before your competition does. So we want to focus on the UK and Dubai, that region as well. So if I can get out there and we can put enough people together to explain this and educate them, then I'd love to do it.
Awesome. Piers, thank you so much for coming to join us on the show today.
Thank you.